Howdy! So I play Nobody Wants to Die. This is not a game that got a review code for, rather a game that I acquired for trying the Humble Bundle choice for a month. I got that and RoboCop amongst some other games. I was curious to check this out for a long time because I like the cyberpunk aesthetic, and I really enjoyed playing this game. Now, if you like games like Cyberpunk 2077, if you like games with a lot of action to it, then you might not vibe with this game. If you play the game Observer, which is another sort of cyberpunk Blade Runner inspired game, you're gonna enjoy this game. It's more in that style of Observer, where you're just walking around, interacting things. You're trying to figure out different puzzles and figure out clues. The main character is a detective, which is a common thing between both of those games. And you're just trying to figure out the case and what's happening. What makes this game kind of unique in its gameplay style of sorts is you use this thing that he's got on his arm, and you can kind of control time in a sense. So what he can do with this little arm device is he can reverse time. He can find like a thread, like a person's body or some sort of item. He can use that, analyze it, and kind of go back in time to a certain extent. And the way that the game works is that you go into these different scenes, and the goal is to unlock as much of the scene as you can to figure out what happened. So you do it in little bits at a time. One bit you solve then leads you to another little bit. And then it kind of goes from there, and eventually you unlock the entire timeline so you can see from start to finish everything that happened. And that's adding to this greater narrative. And then once you finish these areas, then you go back to the main character's apartment, and it's like little chess pieces, almost what they look like. There's these little icons that appear, and your goal is to kind of match all the clues you found together and figure out what the correct path is in terms of why something occurred. Like, why was this place here? Why did this person do this thing? What was the motivation? And then you go to the next area. So that's like the two main things you do. Now, as the game goes further along, there is a little bit more variety in the gameplay, and it kind of loses that procedural element a little bit the further the game goes on. Now, this game does have narrative choices, so there are multiple endings to this game, at least 2 different ones. And depending on what you select, sometimes you unlock another extra option in dialogue. Sometimes the game will give you 2 or 4 options. 2 of them may be locked, or 1 might be locked. And depending on how you played a previous scene, you might be able to unlock this, in which you wouldn't have been able to if you played the prior scene in a different sort of way. And you have this main character you're talking to in your head the whole time, and it's focused on these 2 characters and getting to know each other and their stories, and that's where the bread and butter of this game is these 2 characters and how they connect with each other based on past trauma and experience, and what they're doing now working together and what motivates them to accomplish this goal. And it has moments where sometimes they argue and disagree, and you have the option as a player to agree more with this person and try to get along with them, or disagree with them more and cause more tension. And sometimes you have the option in these environments to like destroy evidence or do something to kind of help the more villain of the game of sorts. So there is an overarching villain that kind of connects all the cases together. Once you find out what goes on, then you kind of have the option to maybe lean more towards this side and this goal, because he'll try to kind of convince you, hey, you know, I've been trying to show you all this stuff, and, you know, come to my side. Don't you see what I'm trying to do here? And it also relates back to the character you're playing also with trauma. The main character lost his wife in this accident, and you keep hearing about this train accident. You're not sure what happens. You get little snippets here and there until you get closer to the end and you find out what really happened. And it leads the character to kind of question what he's doing and his past choices, because he can't quite remember what happened. And that affects his relationship with the other character of the game that you're talking with most of the time. And I enjoyed that, and that worked for me. I really liked also the aesthetics of this game. So like an Observer, a lot of the time you're in the ground, you can kind of see the city at distance, you can go in these motel rooms, and they had that Blade Runner feel to it, and it was effective. But this one, it took you more outside. So you didn't necessarily fully walk around open world. It wasn't like that with the Cyberpunk. It was taking you from place to place. There were scenes, there was, you know, cutscenes and stuff happening between each location. But especially when you were outside, you could see the feel of the city. Even the way the game started, where you're hanging in the main character's car, and it's a flying car, and you're seeing a movie, and they opens the door and you overlook New York, because that's where the game takes place, is New York. And you can see all of like Times Square. It was so cool to see. Now, I wasn't able to run the game at its strongest. My PC is an older PC, so I had to narrow down the graphics quite a bit for it to work, but it did work. I wasn't sure if this game was gonna run at all on my PC, and I was able to once I turned some of the stuff down. It would have been nice, though, to see the full graphic force of this game, especially in moments where the rain's coming down, the character's just hanging out at his apartment, moments like that. The game overall wasn't too long. I finished it maybe like 5 hours or so, roughly, maybe a little bit more. So I got through it in just a couple quick play sessions. If you like games that are that story narrative adventure, that don't have any action, that's more like an observer, then this is definitely worth checking out, I believe. I really had a good time playing it. If you're not as much into the story and want some action and just wants to cause some fun sandbox chaos, stick with Cyberpunk 2077. You can get more of that there, and story and world building per se. And this one's a little bit more personal, so it might not appeal to you as much. And I played it on PC, and you can get it, I believe, on console as well. I believe I've seen it also on PlayStation.